Well, hello everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you in Australia. I did hope to come and visit with all of you again. But unfortunately, I have to be in Washington, D.C. testifying, and I felt like that was the important thing to do and try to help improve the access to rare disease therapies. So instead, we're doing this presentation. I hope to answer some of your questions about what's going on in my foundation and what we're doing to help improve the process for rare disease therapy development. I'm going to be talking about accelerating biotech innovation for rare diseases. And what we'll do in the beginning is I'll just tell you a little bit about the foundation that we've established and talk about what we're doing. And I'll then talk about the goals for our foundation, the Cure the Process campaign, explain what that is and what we hope to accomplish. We're going to put the case to you of why we need change, and I'll talk about the Aldurazyme story and some other examples of why the system isn't working as well as it could. Sure, we have more MPS therapies, but we still could do more at getting therapies for example, Sanfilippo syndrome or maybe some of the mucolipidoses. Beyond that, we want to make sure we understand what the benefits for change might be in the development process. And that's the case we're making both in Congress, at FDA, and with patient groups. Important to get them understanding why we need to make these improvements in the regulatory process for rare diseases. And at the end, we'll talk a little about frequently asked questions. I may not cover all the questions you might have thought of, but certainly you can connect with us later if you have others. So the goals for the Cure the Process campaign were established last year at the very beginning of this whole process. And the campaign basically is saying we want to cure the process around the regulation of rare disease drugs. And so we've set in that goal three basic subsections to the goal. One, we want to get the right people in place at FDA. They need specialized training in the biochemical and genetic disorders so they can understand how to regulate these rare diseases. Secondly, we want to allow improved accessibility to the accelerated approval pathway. This is the way in which drugs get approved that might use a blood or urine test rather than full clinical endpoints. And this is important because some diseases are very difficult to measure or very rare, and it makes it difficult to do clinical studies that are using clinical endpoints. We think this is important to improve the development of drugs for certain rare disorders. Finally, we want to try to improve the use of alternative, more powerful study designs and statistical analyses so that we can do clinical studies in small populations and have them succeed. And right now, we find not always the best statistical methods being used. Those are the goals for the campaign today: getting the right people in place, getting access to accelerated approval, and getting the right clinical study designs and analyses going. Now, a brief history of the foundation. In March 2009, we formed the foundation, and primarily I funded it, and the point I had was to, after my 11 years of working in BioMarin and several years before that on drug development, I felt like it was time to try to fix some systemic problems which were making it difficult to get rare disease drugs developed. We invited and talked to a number of people regarding what was wrong with the system, both validating what I knew, but also tuning our message to make it the right message. And that's what we put together and called launched the Cure the Process campaign at the NORD Summit. By June, we were assembling a scientific advisory committee that would be used to help drive some of the statistical analyses and some of the other data we would need to help support some of the changes. By July, we were forming a legislative advocates group. This is getting all the legislative people together who are working on rare diseases to try to coordinate, at least understand what each of us were doing. By September, we were fortunate to have the Brownback-Brown Amendment passed, and that amendment allowed for the FDA to evaluate their rare disease drug policies and to come up with an answer to Congress as to what they were doing and what could be improved. And that process is going very well, with some suggestions being brought forth by FDA themselves. By February, we were testifying at the Institute of Medicine review, which was looking at ways to improve rare disease drug development. And in April, the foundation had hit 100 formal endorsements for our campaign. And by June, we are actually testifying at a number of FDA, NIH, and other conferences that are looking at rare disease therapeutic development issues. The great thing about the campaign is that we've achieved tremendous support from around the world, and the Cure the Process partners who have formally endorsed the campaign now numbers 128, and it's growing daily. We're very pleased to have the support of a wide range of organizations, including the National MPS Society, as well as the physician organizations like SIMD. The support of these organizations becomes very important at achieving our political goals and letting people know that we have everyone behind us and that our goals are the important goals for what we need to get done in rare diseases.